Welcome to Nature Calls, Conversations from the Hudson Valley. Our team's goal is to present science-based information about gardening and all things nature in New York's Hudson Valley. Hosts Jean and Tim, along with team members
Teresa, Linda, and Annie,
are master gardener volunteers for New York's Columbia and Greene counties. So if you're interested in gardening or nature, or nuggets of information about what's happening outside your door, settle in. Enjoy the conversation. Whatever the season, we have something to say.
hello and welcome to Nature Calls, Conversations from the Hudson Valley. I'm Jean Thomas.
And I'm Tally Young.
Today we're delighted to be having a conversation with Madeline Hooper, co-host of the PBS series GardenFit. Welcome, Madeline.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
This may be redundant for some of our listeners, but let's review some of your background. From what we can tell, you've led several lives already. In fact, we were wondering how old you are. Let me tell you. Let's see if I got everything. You run a huge public relations company. During that time, apparently in your spare time, you took up ballroom dancing, became one of the top amateurs in the country. Then, of course, you went pro and taught dance. Evidently, that became boring and you turned to gardening. Aches and pains followed the new pastime, so you went to a personal trainer. And, of course, now you're making yet another career in television, teaching gardeners better fitness. What'd I leave out?
I think that's it. I'm sorry. I've had a great life.
Indeed.
That's beautiful. So welcome, Madeline. I know that in addition to all those things, you've also volunteered with the Berkshire Botanical Garden in Stockbridge. And then you have your open days with the garden conservancies at Rockland Farm. And you've done so many things. And now you're doing your second season of PBS. My goodness. How did that come about?
Well, I think first, the success of season one, people really loved it. And it was very satisfying to teach people this body awareness so they could garden without so much stress or aches and pains. And PBS wanted another season. And then we came up with the idea of maybe visiting gardeners, passionate gardeners who were also artists. So I couldn't resist.
It was funny, we were interviewing somebody earlier and we were talking about the connection with gardening and artists and music. And all the arts, that this definitely a line. There's a connection. So as MTV's Master Gardener Volunteers, we're members of a group that kind of tends older. Most of us are retirees or wannabes and are coping with all the lifestyle issues along with our own gardening and volunteer work. And a lot of volunteers work for more than one organization. So time is short and any help with fitness is welcome. How did you come to the decision to use common sense instead of these formula things that you see everywhere?
Well, two parts of an answer to that. One, I was gardening so much and I was in so much stress. Every morning I would wake up with my back hurting and my common sense said, there has to be a solution. I just didn't have it. And another gardener, I think you know this, Jean, said, why don't you go see a trainer? And once I met Jeff, and he really started to make me aware of how your body functions and what muscle groups you should use to do different things, like getting up and down or lifting things. The aches and pains went away. And his solutions were so easy and common sense. You just have to change how you want to see yourself moving in the garden or anywhere in life. But it just seemed easy then, more natural.
Now that you've released the second season of GardenFit, which has a whole new perspective with the artist gardens, what kind of feedback have you getting? You start getting feedback from like viewers, workshop attendees, and what are you hearing? Are there any surprises?
Well, I think what doesn't really surprise me, but is very gratifying, is that everybody appreciates learning how to use their body better. So whether you're an artist or you're just, a weekend gardener, and certainly all the comments we're getting on our social media, people just want more information like that. So it is surprising how many people write back with specific questions, like if I'm gathering mulch from my wheelbarrow to put in a garden, what are the best forms? It's very specific questions sometimes, so that's a little surprising. But people really welcome this in the workshops. I learn as much as I think I can share. because everybody's talking about the change that is required, which is so simple, to really not have your back in the equation of bending all the time when you're lifting or weeding. And so it's kind of a give and take. So that is a bit of a surprise, but again, a joy, to see people enjoying their gardening more.
Well, in your show's first season, you travel across the country to all these unusual farms, saffron growers. That's my favorite. I think every garden is a voyeur, every one of us. And I'm looking forward to more of the same in your next season. What was your favorite episode of season 1? You can tell us.
Yes. No, I'd love to tell you, but the truth is each one was individually exciting because every gardener, and you guys as master gardeners know this, create their own paradise. Everyone was different. Whether
So
it was
diplomatic.
Well, no, but it's really true. It's sort of you love the one you're with. A little bit of that because the gardens were so reflective of the personalities of the people we visited that in itself was so exciting. So I really can't say I have a favorite, but I think certainly I get why Peace and Plenty Farm and, watching how people grow saffron is so unique. So I hope that people do have their favorites. I just don't.
Okay, I'll buy that.
Wow. So season 2 is about artists and their gardens. And we get to see what's inside the gardens and how they reflect the artist and the person. And there's the voyeurism, and then there's the aches and pains, which we cannot escape no matter what. But then another idea starts developing and creeping in, and that is we're all creatives. And we are not confining ourselves, and we do not need to confine ourselves, and we can express ourselves in various ways, both in life and in the garden. So can you just tell us about that connection more and how we all have that?
Well, I think what everybody had in common from season 1 and season 2, and probably all of us in this room, is that we'll try anything, that we're risk takers. We trust ourselves. And so you're right. If people like pink blooming flowers, that's what they put in their garden. If they want pink and yellow together, they combine them together. Nobody really seemed to follow rules or feel there was a right way. They just followed their passion. So a lot of the gardeners had native plants, of course, because they wanted to create habitats. A lot of the gardeners wanted huge plants, more tropical plants. They wanted the scale different. And that was really exciting to see because I wasn't really used to that, having a garden, in the Berkshires, which really the scale are the huge trees, but not medium scale. So I think that what is so exciting about anybody, again, who gardens, but certainly these artists, have an energy about creativity. And it really is reflected in their gardens. So I can hear Cynthia Meyer's flute playing when I listen to a symphony. She particularly likes Brahms, I think. But it's just staggering how much color is in a garden of a visual artist. So Jose Alvarez, DOPA, I saw his painting. And when I saw his paintings, I said to him, by any chance, are you a gardener? And he whipped out his phone and showed me a 2-acre tropical garden that he created. So it's pretty exciting to see that connection and to understand that all of us are that creative. We just have to kind of let it go.
Let it loose.
Yeah.
We do that a lot. Okay, I know you do workshops.
Yes.
And I don't quite understand how that goes. And you have the TV show, and I've watched the TV show. But how do I know what your workshop schedule is and where you are and what all goes on with that? Is there a website specifically for that?
There is, Jean, and thanks for asking. So you can go to our website, which is www.gardenfit.fit, and just write to me. I really go where I'm needed, within reason, because I do have a life, but I'm happy to do workshops, especially for groups like, let's say, about 30 to 50 people, because it's interactive. Yes, Master Gardeners. I've done some for Master Gardener groups. It's again, a real give and take, but they seem to leave feeling more confident that you do not have to live with the aches and pains of gardening. You just don't. I garden for 5 hours a day. I'm in my 7th decade. So I'm not going to tell you exactly how old I am, but I am not young. And I really use my body correctly, and it's made just a gigantic difference. I can't even express how much more joy I get out of gardening because I know I can do it and not hurt myself.
Well, I just had an epiphany. This happens to me once in a while. So your body is actually your prime garden tool.
Exactly.
And there's the correct ways to use it.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you said that because we really tell people that. You know, everybody has their favorite tool. They love a hori-hori or they can't live without this spade or whatever. But really, it's your body. And if you use your body right, of course, the inanimate tools function better. So it's really the key.
Tell us more about the workshops.
Okay, so in the workshops, what happens is I really talk about this mindfulness, how to think about your body really gardening, what it looks like. Like if I hunch over, that's not pretty. If I have my back straight and use my hips or my knees more when I'm bending, I actually look more attractive. And of course, it's healthier. I mean, one big thing that I found out, which I just don't understand why our bodies do this, but both trainers now in 2 seasons say that your body does not move in the best way. It moves in the easiest way.
Well,
And that's why we strain parts of our body that shouldn't be in the gardening equation.
so our muscles are as lazy as we are?
Yeah. So you have to get your mind really strong.
Oh, dear.
It takes a while. I know, what you have to do is easy. You don't have to be strong and you don't have to exercise, but you have to form a habit. And so unless you make up your mind that I am not going to hunch over, when I bend forward, I'm going to put one foot in the direction I'm bending. It's simple, but you got to remember to do that all the time. And all of a sudden, your lower back will stop aching. So it's just simple solutions. Like you said earlier, common sense, Jean.
That's why I'm a failure.
I have no common sense. Yes, I'm sure you do. Everybody does.
So are you planning on putting together a series or a program or anything? What are you looking forward to?
I really can't say the answer to that. I feel like I've been so lucky. We never really thought we could do a television show, and then it happened, and then we did another season. So I feel like something will emerge. I'm being asked to do more workshops. And I would just like to really almost do a syllabus for schools, so I don't have to teach it. Anybody could teach this. So even young gardeners, young kids start to learn that their body is their most important gardening tool.
A lot of the schools are doing gardening now.
They are.
Oh, that would be a nice tie-in.
Yeah. So I just think that something will come. I've been so busy, finishing season 2 and doing all the editing and work that goes along with that. So it's really almost now that I can take a breath and think about the future.
Yeah, I was just going over all the episodes and binging because I'd forget stuff.
Yes,
And I'm going, 13 episodes?
it's a lot.
You did a lot.
Yeah.
I think the first season was as well, right?
Yes, you're absolutely right. So we've done 26 episodes.
Oh, wow. That's a lot.
Yeah, I've met a lot of great gardeners, though.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. And one of the gardener artists is from Athens.
Yes.
Which is in our little territory.
Yes.
In fact, we could throw a rock across the river and probably hit her house.
We could.
And now tell us a little bit about her.
Paula Hayes.
Okay.
So she's an amazing artist, and she really creates these little worlds. She has glass terrariums shaped and molded by these craftspeople in shapes that she likes. And you know how most terrariums have openings on the top? Hers are on the side. It's almost womb-like. And she puts these little plants inside to create a relationship between them. And it's just such a beautiful thought and idea.
And the sculptures in themselves, they're all different sizes and shapes.
Absolutely, from like really small to gigantic. And of course, she has a beautiful garden, and she really gardens every single day. Like, she cannot live without nature. It's really important to her. It feeds her. And she also is a landscape designer, so she's done gardens herself for other people besides herself. So she uses her creativity in so many ways, and she's a delight.
Yeah, and speaking of feeding, I think it was one of the last episodes. We just did an interview with a chef who was a forager.
Ah,
And you did an interview with a chef who was a forager.
absolutely. James Gopp.
Wow.
Oh my God. I'm just we're besotted with him. I mean, Adam and I can't be with him enough because walking through a forest is exciting and you realize there are mushrooms and things that you could collect and eat. But he can sit on my grass in a square foot and find 5 or 6 different flavors and things that we could put in our salad. I mean, it's really amazing. It's another world.
And he had a bad back, right?
He had a bad back, but Adam has fixed him because we've seen him since. We live right near him. He lives in Richmond. So we've really had a lot of time with him, and he's really happy now. He's happier with the feeling of foraging.
Because it was funny because we had just finished that episode with Rob Handel in the Catskills.
Right.
And then I saw this round. Well, look at this. Everybody wants to be like us.
He's amazing. You know, and then he cooks everything on an open fire.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, just spectacular. His food
Drama.
is beyond delicious. Yeah.
Okay, Madeline.
Yeah.
What was your favorite show of season 2?
You keep asking me about favorites. I really don't have favorites. I'm so sorry.
If you really did have a favorite, what would it be?
It's really hard to say.
Okay, which one did you learn the most?
I was just going to say, thinking about the ones that I learned a lot from. One relationship in the show format was Bunny Williams, the interior designer, showing us how she does flower arrangements. And she does them naturally. You know, they're not for flower shows where there's a particular pattern. She just takes things that are growing in her cutting garden and in her woods and puts it all together. And it's spectacular. So she used Queen Anne's lace as this beautiful flower that was coming out of these other sunflowers and foliage. And now I do that. So every time I cut some Queen Anne's lace, I really think of Bunny. And I think, God, that was just a lovely idea. So, but I've learned so much. I really have to say, I'm not being diplomatic. There really wasn't a curve between what we learned, because we learned more in this farm than we did in this small little garden. We learned from everybody. And I took ideas from everybody for my garden.
Well, as you should.
Exactly.
When's your next open house?
We only open house once a year for the garden conservancy.
I am sure that I'm using my body in ways that are not beautiful or right or efficient. But I wonder if you think of all the different people whose bodies you helped correct, and what would you say is the one takeaway? What is the biggest mistake we all make? If there was one thing that people do that's wrong and that they can fix, what would it be?
I can tell you that because this is sort of what got me started. We do the same task too long. So I used to weed until the entire bed had no weeds in it. If that took an hour or 2 hours, I know this is startling, that's not good. You really need to stop using one muscle group after about 30 minutes, maybe 40 tops, and just take a break. I sort of stretch till I get my next tools. Or let's say I'm weeding and then I want to prune. And then you're using such different muscles that the weeding muscles relax and you can go right back to them. And it's like just starting gardening again. So the real big trick is to modify how much time you spend doing one task and don't overstress that. So again, easy solution, it's mindful. You have to be willing to do that. You know, we all buy new plants and want to dig them all in. Well, after 30 minutes, maybe there are 3 plants left over. Wait another hour before you put them in and you'll have less strain.
This is so logical. I don't know why I never thought of it, but this is why they call certain injuries repetitive stress injuries.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. It's such common sense. Like I said in the beginning, it almost is startling.
Right. Well, I almost hesitate to ask you our traditional final question.
Yes.
Because you seem to be one of the most optimistic people I've ever met. But here's the question, because tradition is tradition. Where do you find the most hope for our world these days?
That's an easy answer for me. Everybody should interact with nature. And that means literally walking down even a city street and looking at the trees. Certainly hiking or walking through forests. You know, there's this whole trend in forest bathing where it shows that if you walk through a forest, you lower your blood pressure. I just think if you see a beautiful flower, just smile back at it.
That's a beautiful thing.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you very, very much.
You're welcome.
That concludes another episode of Nature Calls, Conversations from the Hudson Valley. We would like to thank
Sandra Powers
and Devin Connolly from Cornell Cooperative Extension of Columbia and Greene Counties for production support. And a special thank you to our listeners for joining us on this episode of Nature Calls, Conversations from the Hudson Valley. You can find links to any of the topics mentioned in this episode at our website at ccecolumbiagreen.org. Comments and suggestions for future topics may be directed to us at columbiagreenmgb@cornell.edu or on the CCE Master Gardener Volunteers of Columbia and Greene Counties Facebook page. For more information about Cornell Cooperative Extension of Columbia and Greene Counties, visit our website at ccecolumbiagreen.org or visit us in Hudson or in Acre. Cornell Cooperative Extension provides equal programming and employment opportunities